It's time I talked about my guy. My guy. That's what I call him. He's the one that watches me. And it's Halloween. Have it be happy. Have it be dastardly. Peel in all the people you know and use them against those you know. Halloween. Who is it that steps in at these times because the veil is so thin? Who do you invite? My guy. I'm a person who fought things for the longest time until at one point I realized there's so much evidence of it. It would be stupidity to deny it. Difference between stupidity and ignorance. Ignorance just doesn't know. Stupidity has the knowledge and decides to reject that knowledge. So something happens enough. Some point you gotta accept there's something going on. When I was a kid, about 10, 11 years old, this is the first time I recall the presence of my guy. And I didn't know it at the time. It was the first time. I was sleeping and I just woke up alert. And I looked around, and this happens very often. Not as much as it used to because I don't need this shit around me. But I woke up like that. And here I am in my parents' house, 10, 11 years old. I wasn't living on my own yet. Hadn't even had my first cigarette. Why would I move out? Nobody told me what not to do. And I'm sitting there, lying there in my bed, wondering what the hell is this? There was an emptiness to begin with. And then from the basement, outside in the other room down the stairs, I heard about that pace, walking up the wooden stairs. The basement was just wooden stairs, you know. It sounded like wood, steps on wood, and they were coming up. And I was listening to the steps coming up the stairs. And I said, what the hell is this? And it walked up into the kitchen where the stairwell came from to the basement. Walked up, stepped on the kitchen floor, and it stopped. And it turned, and it walked, and I could hear it walking across the tile floor in the kitchen. And at the time, there was carpet. Floors have been redone since, but it got to the place where the carpet and the linoleum ended, which led down either into the dining room towards the living room or down to our sleeping quarters. And it was right there, and it turned and it walked down the hall. And it walked on down the hall The scream of the butterflies. That's my Jim Morrison impression. Walked down the hall. I heard the steps getting softer on the carpet down the hall. I could hear them getting, and I was the first room in the hallway. I'm lying there in my bed going, what the hell's going on? And my bedroom door was open, and it stopped at my bedroom door, and it walked across the linoleum in there. And I was just lying there saying, I'm asleep. I'm dead. I'm not here. Don't breathe. Don't breathe. Don't breathe. And I held my breath and kept my eyes closed and acted like I was totally unaware. And it stood next to my bed. It stopped there and just looked over me. I could feel it looking over me. I could feel its presence now. And I could hear, I could feel its breathing. I could hear it. It was looking at me. And then it turned. And it walked away. It walked away. I could hear it walking away across the room, and it turned right out the door. It didn't go down to my brother's sisters. It didn't go down to my dad and mom's. It went back out, and I heard steps on the linoleum change, and then through the dining room, I heard it change again. It was going towards the living room. And I jumped up out of bed and I said, ah! And I hit every light on the way to my parents' room, and I cranked on their light and I said, ah! There's somebody in the house. And my mom was like, what? She says, there's nobody in the house. My dad says, there's nobody in the house. And she says, Al, show him. And he says, who, me? He's sitting up in his bed, and he did. He got up, and he walked through the entire house. And all the doors were locked. All the windows were locked. Everything was closed. There was no human in the house. And so I look at that and I say, yeah, who would lock the door on the way out? There was something in the house, and it was sitting there with me. And it was looking at me. And then years later, I moved into the southeast bedroom. After brothers and sisters had moved out, there was more room. I moved to the southeast bedroom, and I would wake up and I would feel this presence in the room. It's just in there. I'd just wake up alert like that, like, what the fuck? And this presence is there. And I said, ooh, it's freakish. It's very freakish. And then when I went to the army, they put me in a room with Bamberger, who had a girlfriend who he spent all his nights at her house, so I had the room to myself at night. And he would have his TV on, and I'd be getting ready in the morning after PT, after we'd run. and shower and everything, he'd have the TV on with the news all the time, and I'd just be getting dressed. I'm not really paying attention, but it was like The Death of the Western World Part 2 or something like that. I don't know what the hell it was called. And they had Guns N' Roses on there. It would have been 1988, I think. And they were on there, and they were saying, "Are we worried about getting AIDS? No, we all screw the same girls, so if we get it, we get it." And I was like, and he's like, "I hate those guys." And Guns N' Roses, Appetite for Destruction, Welcome to the Jungle had been just recently released, and when he said he hated those guys, I couldn't stand him. So I went out that day, I drove out and got Appetite for Destruction, and I would listen to it just to irritate the shit out of him when he was in the room because he hated him. But I started going to bed with that on my little ghetto blaster boombox, whatever you call it. I'd listen to it, and it would end at the end of the tape. It'd shut off, and I was there one night again, Bamberg or not there, and I'm lying there. I'm sleeping, or not sleeping, just going to sleep with Guns N' Roses playing, and Rocket Queen was on, and I was getting, it's the end of that side of the thing, and all of a sudden it just clunk, it shut off. And I woke up and I was totally aware. And I was in there, in that waking moment, I remember thinking, as everything was silent, this is the most peaceful I've ever been. I felt the peace, which I don't think many people ever feel. I think I was dead. And I was lying there, and in my head, I turned to the side, and I saw a man looking at me. Like the Grim Reaper, with a bald head, with his cowl down. He was just standing there with a familiar grin, like he knew me, and he liked me. And I said, "What the hell is that?" And I went, I sucked up into the corner of the room. And I was up there looking down at the situation. And I could see my body lying in the bed, eyes open. It was just lying there, looking straight up at the ceiling. And it was inanimate. And I said, "What the hell is this?" Looking down from the corner of the room. And I could see that guy, my guy, standing by my wall locker, and he started walking over to me. And he walked to the edge of the bed, and he was looking, and he reached, and he was going for me, and I sucked back into my body. The hand was over my face, and it touched my lids and closed them. I jumped up and hit the lights and looked around. I said, "There's nobody in here." I said, "Oh," but I felt his presence. I knew his feeling. Ow, I think I'm on fire. I'm on fire. It's all right, I just put it out. I could feel him. I knew the presence. Ow! I'm on fire. And I went back to sleep. There was nobody in there, so I went back to sleep. I said, yeah, and that's not easy to do, but I did it. Next morning, we go out and run PT. sitting there after the showers, and Bamberger's trying to play his news, and I said, well, this is where I play my Guns N' Roses to fuck with him. And in the morning, I would always take out the tape and turn it over, and it would start fresh on the next side. And I took out the tape, and I looked at it, and I said, it didn't play all the way through. And I put it back in, and it was Rocket Queen right where I'd left off, right where it shut off the night before. And I was like, that's odd. Did it instigate whatever I was feeling? I don't think so. I felt something, and this is somebody that's looking at me. Look at me! Look at me. You don't really want people looking at you. You don't want them to see what's in there. You don't want them to take it away. Because that's what they do when they see something's worth something. They take it, and you're left with nothing. But through the years, other things have been in the room. And I go, what the hell is that? I've had things crawling on me. There's often always evidence. I slept in a tree at the Hastings Cutoff outside of Carlin, Nevada one day, and there was something there. Always physical evidence left over. When I realized that this is stupidity that's telling me not to believe, but there is something. And then you read Lovecraft, and you keep finding things in writings that people that say they don't believe this stuff, they're just making it up, but they put in all the things you've ever experienced, and so you know they've been through it too. The small furry thing that snuggles you in the night.